Hello, this is Grant Hughes of Grant Hughes Investigates on YouTube. Please hit that like button, share the video, and subscribe. This is going to be a quick video. I'm going to go over where I believe we can now say where Tyler Robinson's Dodge Challenger was parked. And this information was sent to me by someone out there who has access to aerial photographs. There's contracts out there by different airlines or airplane companies who take photographs, and then other companies can use aerial photographs for whatever reason. Now it turns out that he's digging around in the imagery. It's similar to satellite imagery, but it's much clearer on the average because these are photographs from planes that are much lower than a satellite. All right, so he went and looked, and he's been looking around for a while, but he figured out a better way to do it, and then figured out there's dates on September 10th. This is what he's telling me. I believe him based on some information here that he got these from September 10th, the same day that Charlie Kirk was shot, and the images, and I don't have the time exactly on the images that I have. Well, actually, I do. It looks like he wrote them on there. So the images are either like 11:10, maybe 11:02, 11:27, something like that. So he has like 11:10, 11:02, 11:10, and 11:27 on some images. He puts on the image what time it is, and he'll be sending me the metadata later. But let's take a look at some of the stuff that he was able to find. So this one right here is the aerial photograph of, I think he was trying to show whether or not the vehicle parked where I thought it parked. Okay, so there's two locations that I thought the vehicle was parked. And if we go to Google Earth here, and he's looking at the one that I had right here. Okay, now here's the image from, and it looks like this one. It doesn't say the time on this one, but it's around that same time frame. And I would have had it parked underneath that tree because there's a fence on this side and a fence on that side. So if you go down to where I thought it was, see how there's a fence right there, perfect hiding spot. And then there's a fence there, very little areas where you could be filmed. So I thought maybe he parked here before doing the dry run, because if you remember, this house right there is the one that filmed the Challenger coming in, and also filmed Tyler Robinson walking around the corner right there. All right, now this is the secondary shot right here. This is the location that I had him parked the second time, maybe on the final run. So I thought maybe he parked here and then drove over and parked right there, because this spot is amazing too. It's very well hidden. You got this fence there, another fence on this side, no cameras over there, perhaps over there, but if you just have the passenger door open and you're changing or whatever, that house there isn't going to see anything. And then this direction, there's so much foliage that it would cover any shots. All right, so if we go up in the air here, see that sort of vegetative fence there, ivy fence. I think that's exactly what we're seeing in this location right there. So I would have had him parked right there, and I guess if we rotate this around about like this will show it to you a little bit better. So see that right there, that location and that location. I thought he was parked there, and there is no vehicle parked there, and this is probably around 11 something in the morning, and so apparently he didn't park there. Now, anything's possible. He could have parked there later. We know that he drove by there at about 9:40 is when he was probably back in this area again over here. And as you remember, he left the parking garage at 9:32, and then would have driven up like this, and then made it over here. Let's just say 9:37, 9:38, something in that ballpark. So he's over here. And then I thought maybe he parked right there, and then we see him walking this direction at 9:57. However, it turns out that the vehicle may have been parked in a completely different location, and I believe it was. Okay, at this point, I'm absolutely certain of where it was parked. All right, so let me show you this satellite image right here. So this individual, scanned around all these different aerial photographs and found what looks to be a Dodge Challenger. Now, it looks square and yellow. I'm just kidding. He put a square over the vehicle there. And when we show it, look at this. Here we go. There it is. That is the same shot. So notice the same tree, the shadows right there. And so there is the Dodge Challenger zooming in. Now, I believe that is a Dodge Challenger, and here's why. See those little reflectors on the window, where the rear view mirrors are? And I have a 3D model of that exact year, make, and model of a Dodge Challenger, and I put it over the top of it. Now watch when I blink it on and off. Look at even like that little hash mark there. Look how it matches up right underneath with the, I'm not sure if those are reflectors or what those are, but the windows match perfectly. Here, the window actually goes up into there. That's just a shadow under there. So you got to picture this window is literally virtually a perfect match. And so is the roof size, the back window, the whole length of the car. It works perfectly. All right. So I'm fairly certain, I would say 90%, that is where the Challenger was parked. Now let me show you where that is. It's pretty interesting. So let's get back to that other image that was the wider shot. Right there. Okay, so see that odd looking street right there? We'll go to Google Earth, go up in the air, and I think that's like this. Okay, something similar to that. See that road that goes like that? That's right here. Okay, you can see that. I'm zooming it out so it sort of matches a little bit better. Right there, and then right there. And then on that shot, from the aerial footage, you come down and it's right there. And if you go to the close-up shot and zoom in, there's these two manholes right there. And then if you zoom in down here where the pin is, where I placed it after looking at his image, there's the two manholes. Okay, so the vehicle may have been parked right there, and it's really a good spot to park. Let's go down the street view there and just take a look at it. So like my spots, it has a fence blocking any view. And this house does, could have a camera or whatever, but it looks like he may have parked right there. Now let's take a look at where this is in connection to where he was walking. Look how perfect this is. This is where I thought he parked, and I thought he parked there. This street here actually continues on, and there's where he parked. He walked this direction. Perhaps even later when he was wearing the pants and on his final run, basically. And interestingly enough, it's very possible that in this image right here, he is sitting in this car. He could be actually sitting in this car as this image is being taken, because I think this one was 11:27. All right, and that would be incredible. That means about 10 minutes later, he probably got out of the car and started walking, which would make that like 11:38, right? And then he would walk this way, turn, and then 11:45, we see him right here walking this direction, coming down. Now on the dry run, he walked all the way around like this, and I guess, the person I was talking to was like, well, why would he walk down in that direction? And he thought maybe he was going to try to figure out how to get through that construction zone. And I guess that makes sense, because why would you do that on the dry run? But then on the final run, you walked this direction. You didn't go back around like this. You went like this. So maybe he was going to test that out, but he realized that wasn't going to work very well. So he changed it up. And we know at the end, when he's leaving, he runs through this yard. He goes back behind the ROTC building right here, and then runs through, and then we see him coming out here. So likely when he came back out here, it's a very good chance that same house across the street will film Tyler Robinson running back or moving quickly back to his vehicle that is very likely parked right there. All right, so there's some other images that are out there, and these are some of the ones that help prove. So this is 11:10. You see that? That's 11:10 in the morning. See that vehicle right there? Let's go to the image of Tyler Robinson walking by. Now notice that car right there. That is the same car that's parked there. All right, let's take a look at that again. See how it has a little pickup sort of thing in the back. I'm not really sure what type of vehicle that was. The guy seemed to know what the type was. And then there it is right there, right? But in this case, there's a blue vehicle there. So then let's take a look at another satellite image. This one. This one is later at 11:27. Now look, there's the blue vehicle and then there's vehicle. And you can also see the roof of the house there? How if you go off, it's about right near where the back window is. So let's go back to the surveillance footage and look at that. Boom, right where the back window is. So that vehicle is right exactly parked there, and there's the blue vehicle that we just saw in this satellite image. All right, so that means just about 20 minutes after this, Tyler Robinson's walking right here. I mean, you don't get to pick and choose what time the cameras are. It looks like what I see is 11:02, 11:10, 11:27. Now, there might be some other times, too, that he had, because he mentioned 11:08, 11:16, 11:28. So I guess we'll have to take a look at those coming up. But I just want to get this out there that I think that we have now figured out where the vehicle parked. And all the credit goes to the individual who had this software and was able to find it. Now, that's why I would love to have access to this kind of stuff in cases, because I can figure that stuff out. All right, but in this case, I wasn't able to because I don't have that software. There are satellite companies out there that have imagery and so forth, but they're really never that clear. Now, some of the other images that he had were this one right here. You can see that's the first place. So when Tyler Robinson came walking in, there's the fuchsia plants. So when Tyler Robinson came in, he walked by just like this and then cut across and then walked by that fence. And that would be in, let's see, I think it's this video right here. This is the TMZ video. So see, there's the fuchsia plants over there. And he comes walking in, way over there, and then cuts across, and he's on that side. And then this one's from the other side of the street. So Tyler Robinson, there's the fuchsia plants. He would have been walking over here, cut across, and then went that direction. All right. So that's really all I wanted to show you guys, that the parking location, I think, is very likely solved of where Tyler Robinson parked his vehicle. Now, I don't know if law enforcement has this information yet. But I think it makes complete sense, and that appears to be a Dodge Challenger based on the reflections, the mirror, the spacing of the windows, the roof, etc., etc., etc. To me, this answers that question. Oh, and one last thing. When I was out there, I had a 360-degree camera. I actually mounted it to the top of my vehicle and drove around, and I picked up that location while driving around in that neighborhood. Now, I didn't drive right by it, but you'll see here in just a second. It's right here at this intersection. And if you zoom in right over there, where he would have parked would be right there next to that fence, right there. All right, so that is the location that was figured out by the individual. And then driving down the straight street, if I went straight ahead, I would drive right by the person who filmed Tyler Robinson, that house, when he walked by on his dry run early on, the same camera that picked up the Dodge Challenger when it drove by. But right here, if you just drive straight through the intersection, it goes right back into the neighborhood. All right. So I want to thank everybody for watching, and I want to especially thank the individual who sent me this information. He's going to get me more shots and more imagery coming up. So make sure to hit that subscribe button and you'll get to watch those in the future. So thank you very much for watching. And as I always say, until next time, be safe out there.